In this video, I am going to show you how to solve quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. And I have a procedure that I am going to use to solve this quadratic equation step by step. Okay, so step 1 is to write the equation in standard form. So in order to solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, you have to get the equation in standard form. So it has to be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Okay, so all of the terms have to be on one side of the equal sign and then 0 on the other side of the equal sign. So if you look at this equation right here, 6x squared, take away 11x minus 10 is 0. So this is in standard form. So step 1 is all done. Okay, you do not have to do step 1. It's done. Now step 2 is to identify the A, B, and C and then substitute them into the formula. Okay, so you have to identify the A, B, C, and then we're going to plug those numbers in using the quadratic formula to come up with the solution for x. Okay, so if you look over here, okay, A is the coefficients of x squared, B is the coefficient of x, and then C is your constant. So your A is going to be 6. Okay, your B is going to be negative 11. And then your C is your constant, which is negative 10. Okay, so A is the coefficients of x squared, B is the coefficient of x, and then C is the constant. So after you come up with your A, B, C, you're going to plug those numbers in to the quadratic formula, and then you are going to simplify to come up with your solution for x. So the value of x using the quadratic formula is opposite of b. So negative b is opposite of b. So opposite of negative 11 is positive 11. And then you have your plus or minus. And then square root of b squared. So that's negative 11 squared. Okay, and then minus 4 times A is 6. And then times C. C is negative 10. Okay, and that whole thing is all over 2 times A, so that's going to be 2 times 6. As you can see, we plugged the value of A, B, C, okay, into the quadratic formula. And then step 3 is to simplify. So we're going to simplify what we have up top. So x is 11 plus or minus square root of. Now negative 11 squared is going to give you 121 because it's negative 11 times negative 11. And then here you have negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. And then negative 24 times negative 10 is going to give you positive 240. Okay, and that whole thing is going to be all over 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, we're going to continue to simplify. So we're going to work this out here. So here you have x equals 11 plus or minus square root of 121 plus 240 is going to give you 361. And then it's going to be all over 12. Okay, so continue here. X is 11 plus or minus. Now we're going to take square root of 361. Square root of 361 is a perfect square. And that's going to give you 19 because 19 times 19 is 361. And that's going to be all over 12. Okay, and then we're going to split this up because we have a plus or minus here. Because you have positive 19 and then negative 19. So we're going to break it up. So x is 11 plus 19 all over 12. Okay, and that's going to give you 30 divided by 12. 12 cannot go into 30 exactly, but we can reduce it by 6. 6 is the greatest common factor. So 30 over 6 is going to give you 5, and then 12 over 6 is 2. So that's one of the solutions. Okay, so the other one is going to be 11 minus 19, and that's going to be all over 12. Okay, so 11 minus 19 is negative 8 over 12, and then we're going to reduce it. Greatest common factor here is 4, so this is going to give you negative 2 over 3. So your two solutions, negative 2 over 3, and then positive 5 over 2. Okay, so those are your two solutions, and that's how you solve by using the quadratic formula. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Okay, so this time we are going to solve 9x squared, take away 1 is 24. So we're going to solve this equation using the quadratic formula, and we have a procedure that we can use. Okay, I'm going to go through it step by step to find out what x is. Okay, so step 1 is to write the equation in standard form. We have to get everything on one side and then 0 on the other side. So if you look at this equation here, okay, you have 24 on this side. Okay, we have to make it equals to 0. So how do we do that? Okay, we do that by getting rid of the 24. So we would want to minus 24 to it, and then we minus 24 to this side. Okay, so whatever you do to one side, you gotta do the exact same thing to the other side. So now we have 9x squared. Okay, take away 25 equals to 0. So that is how you get the equation into standard form, by moving all the terms to one side and then 0 on the other side. Okay, so step 2 is to identify your A, B, and C, and then you're going to plug those numbers into the quadratic formula. Your A is the coefficients of x squared, so A is going to be 9 here. And then your B is coefficients of x. Okay, you have no x term, so that's going to be 0. So your B is 0. And then your C is going to be negative 25. Okay, so we're going to plug those numbers in to A, B, and C. So x is opposite of B, so that's just going to be 0, plus or minus square root of 0 squared, take away 4 times A, which is 9, and then times C is negative 25. So that whole thing is going to be over 2A, so that's going to be 2 times 9. Let's take a look at step 3. Step 3 is to simplify. So we're going to simplify to find out what x is. So here you have 0 plus or minus. You got 0 squared is 0. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. And then negative 36 times negative 25 is going to give you 900. And that whole thing is going to be all over 18. Okay, so continue with this. So now we have x is 0 plus or minus. Okay, so when you take square root of 900, you're just going to get 30. And that whole thing is over 18. Okay, so we're going to break this up because your b is 0. So when you take 0 plus 30, 0 minus 30, you're just going to end up with the same number. Okay, so we're just going to keep the plus or minus, and then you have 30 over 18. Okay, so we're going to reduce that by greatest common factor here is 6. So we divide this by 6, and then we divide this by 6. We'll end up with, okay, plus or minus. Here you're going to have 5 all over 3. X equals to plus or minus 5 over 3. Okay, so that is how you solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Okay, so let's take a look at another one here. We're going to solve this by using the quadratic formula. I'm going to go through it step by step to find out what x is. Okay, so first thing we have to do here is write the equation in standard form. Okay, so standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So you have to have 0 on the other side. So here we have ax minus 1. We have to get rid of the ax minus 1 and make it come out to 0. Okay, so to get rid of the ax minus 1, we want to do the opposite of it, which is negative ax plus 1. Okay, so whatever you do to one side, you have to do the exact same thing to the other side. So we're going to do negative ax plus 1 here. So now you have negative 2x squared minus 8x, and then plus, well, 17 plus 1 is going to give you 18, and you're going to have 0 on the other side. Okay, so this is in standard form. So step 1 is all done. And then step 2 is to identify A, B, C, and then plug those numbers into the quadratic formula. Okay, so we have to come up with ABC. So your A here is negative 2. It's the coefficients of x squared. Your B is negative 8. And then your C is 18. Okay, so there's your ABC. And then we're going to plug those numbers in to the quadratic formula. So the first one is opposite of B. So opposite of B is opposite of negative 8. That's going to give you positive 8. Then you have plus or minus square root of 8 squared minus 4 times A is negative 2 times C is 18. That whole thing is over 2 times A, so that's just going to be 2 times negative 2. Okay, so that's step 2. You plug in your A, B, C. And then step 3 is to simplify. So your x is positive 8 plus or minus square root of, well, 8 squared is 64. And then here you have negative 4 times negative 2, and then that times 18. So negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. And then positive 8 times 18 is 144. And then we're going to divide that by negative 4. Okay, so negative 4 comes from 2 times negative 2. So we have to work this out. 64 plus 144. So x is 8 plus or minus square root of 64 plus 144 is going to give you 208. And then we divide that by negative 4. Now we have to simplify square root of 208. Now 208 is not a perfect square. So we're going to have to break it down, okay, using a perfect square, the largest perfect square that can go into 208. And that is going to be 16. So we're going to break it down using square root of 16 times square root of 13. So when you multiply 16 with 13, you get 208. Okay, so your x is 8 plus or minus square root of 16 is 4, and then square root of 13 stays the same, and then we divide that whole thing by negative 4. Okay, so now we're going to reduce. Okay, we can break these down. See how 8, 4, and negative 4? Okay, there is a common factor for all of those numbers. There's a number that can go into 8, 4, and 4. So your greatest common factor for those three numbers is going to be 4. Okay, so you're going to divide everything by 4. So 8 over 4 is 2. And then 4 over 4 is 1. So you're just going to get 1 square root of 13. And then you get negative 1. So your answer is going to be negative 2 plus or minus, because negative 1 goes into 2 is negative 2 square root of 13. Okay, so that is your x. So one of them is negative 2 plus square root of 13, and the other one is negative 2 minus square root of 13. And that is how you solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. Okay, so here we're going to solve 5x squared plus 9 is 4x plus 5. So step 1 to solving this quadratic equation using the quadratic formula is to get it in standard form. Okay, so it has to be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Okay, so we got to get rid of the 4x plus 5. Okay, so how do we get rid of the 4x plus 5? We do the opposite. So we minus 4x and then minus 5. Okay, so whatever you do to one side, you have to do the exact same thing to the other side. So 4x minus 5. Okay, so here I have 5x squared. Okay, bring down the 5x squared. And then the negative 4x. And then your constant 9 minus 5 is going to give you positive 4. And then this whole thing right here, okay, so they are going to add up to 0. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to do, get it in standard form. Okay, so step 1 is done. Step 2 is to identify your A, B, C, and then plug those numbers into the quadratic formula. So A is the coefficient of x squared. So what is A? Well, A is 5. B is the coefficients of x, so that's negative 4. And then C is your constant, so that's positive 4. So there's your A, B, C. Okay, and then we're going to plug those numbers in using the quadratic formula. So first is opposite of B. Okay, so opposite of negative 4 is going to give you positive 4 plus or minus square root of negative 4 square minus 4 times A, that's 5, and then times C, that's positive 4. And then we divide by 2 times A, so that's just going to be 2 times 5. Okay, so that is step 2. Step 3 is to simplify. Okay, so we're going to simplify to come up with x. So 4 plus or minus. Now here, negative 4 squared is positive 16. And then here you have negative 4 times 5, and then times 4. So negative 4 times 5 is negative 20, times positive 4 is negative 80. And then we're going to divide by 2 times 5, and that is 10. Okay, so continue. We have x is 4 plus or minus square root of Now here you have 16 take away 80. That's going to give you negative 64. And then all over 10. So continue here. We have x is 4 plus or minus. Now square root of 64. If you take square root of 64, you get 8. Because 8 times 8 is 64. Now square root of negative 64 is not a real number. Okay, because you cannot come up with a number multiplied by itself that is going to give you negative 64. Okay, so this is not a real number. Okay, it's an imaginary number. Okay, and then to simplify, we would have to break it down using square root of negative 1 times square root of 64. Now square root of negative 1 is equivalent to I, and then square root of 64 is 8. So your answer here is going to be 8i. Okay, so this is going to give you 8i, and then you divide that whole thing by 10. Okay, we're going to continue to simplify. Looks like 4, 8, and 10. Common factor is going to be 2. 2 can go into all of these numbers, and 2 is going to be your greatest common factor. Okay, to come up with the final answer, we're going to have to divide all of these numbers by 2. So 4 over 2 is 2, plus or minus. 8 over 2 is 4, and then the I. And then 10 over 2 is 5. So that is your final answer. Okay, so x is 2 plus or minus 4i all over 5. That is how you solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. So I hope you guys find these examples helpful, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.